Bro,
is I'm about to just end the stream and
can
then
somebody on my YouTube confirm that it's actually streaming? Cause now it's acting like it don't. I don't know.
chat. Actually, what I'm about to just do.
Okay, two live
Chat.
streams.
Actually, what I'm about to just do. It.
I'm on
No, it's
Zoom.
acting like it don't.
Okay, here we go. New link. New link. All right, so everybody's saying we good. Okay, we good. We good now. I just don't know why it had it was showing that I had two streams up, and I didn't know which stream was actually the right one, because I don't know how it would say that I got
Chat. Actually, what I'm about to just do.
more more streams than I have. But now I need to fix this in my studio. Hold on. Either way though, regardless of the one that we had, I'm gonna just delete it. That way it's not. I hope I just didn't delete the wrong one. I pray I didn't.
Regardless of the. Regardless of the one that we had.
Okay, F it. Okay, so we don't y'all just can't see my face today because I don't know what's going on with my computer, but it's obviously not working today. So yeah, it's just not working. So we just gonna let it do what it do, and yeah. So no worries. We don't have to have a picture, I guess. It's just y'all just won't see my face today. But y'all will just hear my voice and we'll kind of go from there. But what I was mentioning before I even started realizing that my camera wasn't broke was that when I came to my desktop today, the whole screen was like you know how when y'all mess up y'all TVs, like if y'all throw something at the TV and the TV break and you see all the lines through it. Like when I came to my desktop today, that's exactly what it looked like. And I'm like, damn, I gotta cancel the stream because I can't see nothing on the screen. So I was gonna cancel it and I was gonna go to Best Buy, go buy a new monitor, and then we'll just resume it next week. But then right before I was gonna do that, I unplugged it and plugged it back in, and it came back on, but it still got the little lines and stuff. So that's probably why, you know, my stream is kind of messed up today. But I do apologize for anybody that didn't know what was going on. I don't know what's wrong with my computer, but either way, we're just gonna rock out with it like this, right? So going to where we were last week. So this is gold. So gold last week, we were here and we were at this trend line, and then I was mentioning that I wanted to see price pull back before we got this continuation. And we did not get this pullback. So the note here was watch price here for rejections, and then we could potentially pull back to this purple line and then give us the push up to hit these negative 20. Well, this TP2 on negative 27 on our H4 targets, right? And then who remembers when I talked about and I said the higher time frame structure? Remember, I put this note up here and I said the negative 27 take profit level was based off of the weekly retrace. So when we go to the weekly fib, this was the negative 27 that we was targeting. So I was mentioning last week that we could potentially get there, but I wasn't expecting it to literally happen at market open where we just continue to push up. So we did not get the pullback we wanted to on gold. So I can delete these because ultimately, like I said, we did not get that pullback, but we did get the buy that we was anticipating. We just didn't get a good opportunity to take advantage of it, right? So you can see we are at this current negative 61.8 right now. So I'm gonna go over that and then kind of dive into that. So let's go to the weekly time frame. On the weekly time frame, we closed very bullish, and I'm gonna go over the markups that we have from the Telegram chat, and then let me change my charts real quick. All right, so we finished very bullish last week, so that's a good sign that we continue to go bullish. On the daily, we still showing bullish momentum. We had some exhaustion, but overall we still very bullish. And then on H4, same concept, right? H1, we had this consolidation on Thursday and Friday, and then now we kind of broke out of that consolidation, and we'll kind of break this down. So you can see we hit this negative 61.8 here. So this, both negative 61.8s, we knew that that was a sign for a reversal, right? So now I can get rid of these because we don't really need these anymore. We don't need this anymore. We don't need this. And like I said, this was the negative 27 based off of that higher time frame fit. So where we are at now, as you can see, we broke these highs here on H1. So when I was talking about in the Telegram chat, so this is for everybody that kind of wants to go over that trade that we took on Friday. So here, or Thursday I should say, we had this minor breaker structure on M30 where we were making higher highs and higher low points throughout this area. And then we had this low that got broken here. And we was talking about how this was an impulse breaker structure. And then we had a trend line breaking retest that was like such, right? So we had this trend line here. And then we were looking for the break and a retest of this overall move, right? Now, actually, no. The trend line break and retest was, it was here. Based off of this right here. And then we were looking for this move to, actually, no, I'm tripping. Hold on. It was down. Where was it at? It was right here. So we had this impulse breaker structure here, impulse breaker structure that broke this low. Then we had this pullback that retested this previous level of resistance right here. So we took sales right here, right? We took sales right here. Now, at that time, we could have, like, of course, we did not see none of this. So we had our fibs, point A to point B. And then we were targeting negative 27, which was in alignment with like this high in this zone that we broke here. So we was looking for price to come to and tap into that, right? Then, as we can see, we had pushed down here and we broke this little minor structure low right here. So I was confident like, all right, well, we're going to continue to fall. But then we got this higher low point, well, not higher low, but we failed to make a new low point right here. And this was a sign like, all right, we was going to pull back still. So from that area, I'm like, okay, we're going to pull back and we're going to test this little area, you know, this zone again. As long as we don't break above these highs, we're good, right? Now, mind you, this hit TP1. So this was the first TP, which was, it was like 200 or 100 something plus pips. Yeah, 200 pips where we caught. But then it began to retrace. And this is where understanding like, okay, context clues in the market. So we had our first low that made this low right here, that broke this. Then we had this pullback. And then right here, this was a sign like, all right, the market might not make it because this low failed to break this low, which was a sign we could retrace deeper. And then from there, we had this other low that failed to break this low. So another sign. And then here, this low failed to break this low. So then it was like, all right, this probably not about to make it. And then guess what happened on Friday morning after news release? We eventually broke this high, which would have been a stop loss. And then we pushed up and made a new high. So that is how that trade overall went. Like I said, the context clues of understanding the lows that were being, well, failed lows that were happening was a sign that this was going to go bullish, right? So I just wanted to explain that to you guys so you could kind of understand what I was looking for on this move, right? Now, based off of this, we had an impulse to the upside. This impulse push that broke above these little high points here. Now, technically, this can still go bearish, technically, because of this fib not the 100% not getting like disrespected. But based off of the trend that we are in on the higher time frames, there's a high probability chance we just continue to go bullish, right? So we can see like this is just an impulse, a correction, and then we can look for a continuation. So what I'm looking for to start the week on gold, I was looking for price to come back to this area and then see how price reacts at this area. And then on Friday, for some reason, we got this drop. I wouldn't think we was going to get the drop on Friday. I was actually looking for it to come down on Sunday. But since we are at this area now, I'm kind of eager to see like how we react in this area. Will we give bullish price action to continue to go higher, or will this break down and trickle down like such and then go higher, or will this follow that other fib? So right now it's not super clean on, well, it's not super clear on gold until like we get some more data in this area, but I just want to watch price in this area right here. So watch price here. So that's what I'm looking for. Hopefully we can get the continuation to go higher. If I put a little minor fib, this, yeah, so the next target I would say will be these highs here. This will be our target. But of course, like, we don't know where, we don't know when and where, or when price is going to get up to that overall area, right? So I just want to see how price reacts in this area. If it gives us something like this, where it's like kind of like a double bottom type deal, then we could see something like this occur. But right now, like I said, it's not super clear. I want to make sure that it's not going to pull back deeper to this trend line before taking this buy. So I wouldn't take this buy just yet, just because it's kind of the structure. Like I said, we still technically in this downtrend structure like this since we broke this low. Now it is a counter trend, so it definitely can continue to just go bullish. So I'm gonna just be patient on gold and kind of wait and see. But hopefully that makes sense to everybody, and y'all kind of follow what I'm going over, right? So let me check the comments for questions. How did you determine that TP1 for gold? That was just the next stopping point. So this was a level of support. It was just the next stopping point. And then the next stopping point after that was this low right here. So that's how I determined it. All right. Does anybody have any questions about gold? Y'all can just let me know in the YouTube comments. So we just need to be a little bit patient. Can we also go over GU? We might be able to if I get enough time. Since we started late, I don't know if we gonna have enough time, but if we get to it, then yeah, we can go over it. But all right, so that's what I have on gold, and then for Nasdaq, let's go over that. Nasdaq played out beautiful. So last week we were here on Nasdaq. Like, look at this ghost pattern, chat. This is beautiful. Price came right to this area that we mentioned. So last week we were here, and I was saying wait on this pullback to come into this level of support, and you can look to buy from this area. And then I said if we break underneath this area, then we could look for sales. But obviously we just came back here, retested this trend line, and then we bought up. And then remember, our main targets was this negative 61.8. As you can see, this negative 61.8 was spot on. We came right to that target, and then we smashed that, right? And then later on in the week, we got this trend line breaking retest. I wouldn't have taken this, honestly, because it did not break structure. So me personally, I wouldn't have caught that. But then once it broke this structure point here, impulse, correction, then this was a good sell-off right here. So that was NAS last week, but that one played out beautiful. Now let's take a look at the weekly time frame. And weekly, still very bullish. Daily, this actually looks good to continue to make a new high. H4 looks good as well. So I'm going to put a H4 dot on here. So we had a high, well, a low, a higher high. This is forming a new higher low, so we can place a new fib on here. Point A to point B, like such. And then on our 1 hour, oops, didn't mean to move that. On our 1 hour structure, we can see that we had this low that got taken out, lower low, lower high, lower low. So right now, based off of this, we will need to break above this lower high point on H1 to classify price as a breaker structure. So we haven't quite gotten that yet, but overall, we still are looking very good to continue to go bullish. So let me move this one out the way. And actually, I can just hide it. And then I can remove some of this so that it's a little bit more clean for y'all. So give me 1 second while I do this. All right, so now based off of what we have, this is flowing very nicely. We had a trend line breaking retest, perfect. And then let's look at this on M15. All right, so we got this fib structure right here that's about to finish playing out. So just hit this negative 27 take profit. We could probably get up to this negative 61.8 based off of this 61.8 retrace. So what I'll be looking for on NAS, I want to see price break this area first. We'll look for more buys. Once we make a new high and then correct before continuing. So I want to see a new high form first because like I said, the 1 hour structure is this. So we had an impulse, push down, correction, continuation. Technically, this is still in a downtrend structure until we break this lower high point. So I want to see this lower high point get broken first before I just say that we're going to continue to go higher. Because this could easily still push down, make a new low before, buying up. So remember, we had all-time highs and we also was at the negative 61.8. So we got to be mindful of that before we just hop into buys, right? So I'm not going to take buys on this until we break above this area, retest it. Then we can look to buy it up. And our first target will be this 0%. And then our second targets will be up here at negative 27. So let's pick that to TP2. Targets for the week. Let's type that. All right, so that'll be, like I said, the target for the week if we can get above these areas and take advantage of that move, right? So NAS is really clean. I like buys. Just gotta wait for a little bit more confirmation first. So let's go and just draw a ghost pattern. So something like this. I would love to see that. And then sales, if we get breaks underneath this area, we can sell. Oh, shit, wrong thing. So anything under here, we can sell. And we will sell it down to this next level right here. But we gotta, like I said, we gotta get this push up before we get there. Let me see. Let me take the chat. What broker do you recommend? The broker that I use is in the description. So if you want to use the broker that I use, just use the link in the description. But all right, so that's what I have on NAS. And then let's go over US 30. So US 30 played out beautiful last week as well. So last week we were here. And then we was looking for price to pull back into this area and then buy up into this negative 61.8, take profit. So this one, like I said, played out beautiful. And then you can see the note says watch price here for a continuation. Make sure we get rejections and bullish price action before buying. And that's exactly what we did. And we got a beautiful buy up from that area. So hopefully y'all took advantage of NAS and US 30 buys. Because like I said, that was a beautiful buy. And this was the buy that we caught inside of the free signals chat. So if you were inside the signals chat, you know we ate good off of this US 30 buy. And then we carried it to this level, but ultimately I think I only put it to TP3. So let's actually take a look at it really quick. So the US 30 was, yeah, we carried it to TP3, but it ended up hitting TP4. So yeah, this was the trade that we took. And then, like I mentioned, gold was the one that we caught on Friday. We end up hitting TP1, and then price eventually turned around. And then GU, did we take? No, that was the week before. And then I think we caught, was it UJ last week? Yeah, we caught UJ last week inside of the signals chat. This was the trade last week on UJ. So y'all know I don't even trade UJ, but gold wasn't giving me what I wanted. And then we already had caught US 30 buys and that had played out. So I'm like, well, let me just take UJ. And we caught a banger on UJ. UJ ended up smashing through TP3 and then went even further. So those were the 3 trades that we took inside the signals chat last week. So fire trades, right? Now, going back to US 30, let's go to the higher time frames. Weekly still looks very good. And then even looking at this got a long ways to go before. Like, I don't see this stopping no time soon. Like, US 30, I can see US 30 almost going to like 50,000. And we have 46,000 right now, which is crazy. But all right, the daily looks still bullish. We had close with this bullish engulfing. H4 looks very bullish as well. Now we can put our dots. So here, let's put these H4 dots. So our low, we have a higher high, and then we form a new higher low. So we can put a new fib on here, point A to point B. And then we can hide this one since this one already hit negative 61.8. And then I'm gonna readjust this trend line real quick. And then let me get some of these out the way, because honestly, it's a lot going on. Let's take a look. We can get rid of that. Get rid of that. All right, so currently, oops, my bad. Currently where we at right now, we are sitting in, well, we broke, hold on, let me fix this trend line before I'm moving too fast. Hold on. See, I don't like when my trend lines begin to cut through, so let me just draw a new one. And the reason why I'm drawing a new one, so for anybody that's probably wondering, is because when price begin to cut through, that kind of like invalidates what I'm looking at. So I don't like to see no cutting through price. But now we got this new trend line. Every time it touched, it bounced, it bounced, it bounced. So this one is a little bit more updated. So I like to use this one, right? Now on US 30, this one is a little bit different because unlike Nas, well, technically it's the same, but on Nas, we was wondering about that higher low point. I mean that lower high point getting broken, but US 30, you see how we broke beneath this lower high. I mean this higher low point, this breaker structure. So it's a chance it could pull back, but honestly, I'm not gonna go against the trend because we so bullish. So we just gonna rock out with the buys. Now, based off of this, US 30 had a good buy on Friday here, based off of this minor breaker structure. And then we can put this fib point A to point B on here. So the structure that I'm looking at is this right here. So this lower high point got broken, came back to retest, and then we can look for a continuation. So ultimately, what I'm looking for on US 30 is a pullback before we buy again. So that will look something like this. So look for another pullback. Actually, I'm gonna set the alert here. I want to see price pull back into this area, and then we can look to buy it up to that negative 27, take profit level. Yeah, and this kind of goes hand in hand with this level of resistance up here. So perfect. I'm looking for this pullback to this area, and then we can look to buy it up. And then anything under the sales don't really look the best to me, honestly. So I don't even want to give y'all a sell, but anything underneath here in this low, if we break and retest this trend line, then we can sell that down to here. But it's a counter trend trade, so just be mindful. Whenever y'all go against the trend, just always be mindful of you being in a counter trend, right? Somebody said Nas, look at Nas. We already went over Nas. Just rewind it and you'll see it. Do I trade futures? No. I only trade Forex, well, not Forex pairs, but Forex brokers. Would you have taken that minor structure buy based off that minor breaker structure for Nas? Nah, not really. Nah, Nas wasn't clean, but US 30, yeah. I wouldn't have taken the Nas one though. But all right, chat. So that's what I have for US 30. Looking for price to continue. So let's type the note. Watch price here for a bullish continuation. All right, so that's what I have on US 30. Pretty simple, going with the trend. And then now we can go and dive into DXY and GU. So last week, remember on DXY, we marked it up. And then I was saying that we wanted to see if we was going to break this 4-hour lower high point to let us know if the dollar wanted to get stronger. Obviously, I was looking for a price to hit this negative 61.8. And then I was saying I was going to reevaluate to see if it broke above that. And obviously, we had a pullback, just like we didn't go straight to negative 61.8. We had a pullback first, and then we hit this negative 61.8. But now we see that we have broken this 4-hour lower high point. And we also broke this 4-hour trend line. So what does that mean? That means that we can expect the DXY to continue to go bullish, right? We had an impulse breaker structure. So now we will be looking for a bullish continuation, right? So we need to see and we need to determine where is price going to pull back to. So based off of this fib, we can see our breaker structure line. It kind of lines up with 23.6. If it disrespects this 23.6, then it's going to pull back into this high point right here, which is kind of in line with this 38.2. And then we can look for that buy up. So what does that mean? That means that right now, this is in a pullback. So that means GU is probably going to be in a pullback. GU was selling last week. So the pullback for GU is probably going to happen. And then we can look for a continuation. So ultimately, we're looking for a pullback continuation for DXY and then a pullback continuation for GU. But We just need to determine where price is going to pull back. We don't know how far it's going to pull back. So we want to watch price. I'm going to say watch price in this area here for bullish continuation. Now, we don't know when this is going to stop. So this is why we need to see what the price action signals are inside of this area. Like, we won't just, you know, blindly take a buy off of here, but we would need to see the structure being formed. Like, just like, so to take note, we would need to see something like this being formed in this area right here to buy. So let's just actually just copy that right there. So like this. That's what we would need to see. So that's what I have on the DXY. Now it can pull back deeper. It could pull back low key to this yellow line. Yeah, it can pull back as deep as 50% to this line. Just depending on, of course, like, you know, what the dollar does and how it behaves. But then you can see we kind of inside of this daily, like, descending channel. So the next stopping point is that daily trend line right here. So the ghost pattern I have is directly right next to it. So that looks good. I'll be looking for that potentially this week. And then let's go over GU really fast. So last week we were here, and then I mentioned that we can watch price. I want to see if price is going to come to this zone and respect it, or if it was going to come and break through it, right? So the ghost pattern that we had on GU was coming to the zone. So as you can see, we had this pull down to this area. Now I did mention that if we broke above this little lower high point, that we would have a minor buy, and then it's exactly what we got. We got this little push up, and then ultimately this was just a pullback for continuation. So the sales on GU were actually pretty smooth last week. If you trade GU, we now that we've kind of invalidate this fib, we can get rid of it. But GU offered multiple opportunities. I think on my chart I had a trend line like this. So it was a trend line break and retest. So that one worked out, like I said, worked out very well. And then now putting this fib on here, point A to point B. This hit negative 27 after retracing to 23.6. And then now we can place this fib. Hold on, let me check H4 real quick. Yes, so just like the DXY, the GU needs to pull back. Now, depending on where we draw our fib, it'll kind of give us an indication on how far price will pull back, on which the fib level is pulling back to, which kind of gives us a sign on what to expect. But overall, I'm looking for this to pull back. It's just a matter of where to. So we got this area, this previous low, and then we also got this previous low. So I'm gonna watch price at this kind of like this area, and then also this area. And then the next one will be this area right here. So each one of these levels, of course I can just put zones here, but each one of these levels I want to kind of pay attention to. But nothing, honestly, like nothing is ready this week. What it looks like, nothing is ready right now, I should say. And let me look on minor structure. So this minor structure buy, this hit negative 61.8 already. All right, so bare minimum is going to come to this trend line here in that negative 27. So watch price at this trend line and negative 27 TP. So I want to watch price in that area to see what it will do, to see if we get any rejections from that area. So let me draw a ghost pattern. Oops, made it a little bit too big. Damn, hold on. I'm trying to make it a little smaller, but it's tweaking. Hold on. I guess I'll just pick a different one. Hold on. Let me see. Let's do this one right here. All right, so this gonna come up to here, and then we're gonna watch price in that area. And then if it gives us entry confirmations, we'll sell it. If not, then we won't. Now, if this breaks above this lower high point here, then expect a much deeper pullback. So if this breaks above here, then we can look to carry that up a little bit higher. But like I said, I don't know if it's gonna pull back that deep, but we just gotta wait and see. And then we can put a little minor structure trend line right here as well. So it's all about just waiting and paying attention to what price does. Now, honestly, GU, I don't like this. I hate big zones because they throw me off. But no, low key. Hold on, check. This is why sometimes y'all see me do this, because I need to see the structure of price when it just is clean and not what a fit on it. This shit can honestly fall to the floor. But we'll just wait and see. We just gotta wait and see. I'm not gonna say it's gonna fall to the floor just yet, but it's a high probability chance that it can. All right, so we'll see though. We'll see honestly on GU. Just wait on your confirmations. But I can see this eventually, like hitting this trend line and then falling. So that'll be what I'm looking for, but like I said, just wait and see. Does anybody have any questions about any of that? And I know somebody asked about GJ, but honestly, GJ, I don't know how y'all trade GJ right now, because it's literally the ugliest pair on, like, it's not clean. So I wouldn't touch GJ. Said proud student, I got those exact markups. Okay, say that. Proud of you. I love this. Great. My biggest downfall was getting married to a trade. Yeah, that's one thing y'all do not want to do, is get married to a trade. You always got to be adaptive to being able to see what the market is telling you and not with your emotions. So like even in my Telegram chat, I put a message in there, and I'm going to just let y'all read it for YouTube. And if you're not inside of the Telegram chat, then y'all can join. The link is in the description. So y'all can, like I said, y'all can read this, but you just got to understand, like, consistency inside of the market is not like, oh, I need to study more strategy. It's like really based off of like yo thinking. So if you too married to a trade because you want to be right so bad, that can hinder you from actually seeing the move that's right in front of your face that you would see if you wasn't married to it. So it's all a mindset shift. And then, like I was mentioning to them this morning, I want everybody on this call to be that best version of themselves, right? So you got to become the trader that you want to be before y'all can expect like a whole bunch of money or consistent profits, because you got to show up as that version. You can't show up one week and be like, oh, well, this week is going to be different, and then don't change the way you approach the market, don't change the way you think about the market, don't change, like your overall persona. Like you got to make sure that you walking and talking and thinking like the trader you want to become. So to put that into perspective, when I was very first struggling, like as a trader, when I very first started to learn, I used to hear like voices in my head, like my mentor, like saying stuff to me like, you don't enter trades unless you got confirmation, or you do not guess inside the market, or you do like, we don't like take trades that's not like confirmed. And it made me develop this persona of like walking and talking and acting like that type of trader, because the old me would be like, oh well, I think it's going up, so let me get in. And then when like I said, I had my mentor's voice in my back of my head, I began to realize that, well, maybe I should try to be more like her in the way of the way she thinks, right? So the way of how she approaches the market. And once I developed that, I was like, oh shit, like I see the market a lot better, because I'm not chasing trades. I'm not trying to take a whole bunch of trades every week. I'm not trying to get rich overnight. Like, I understand that it's a patience thing. And once I developed my own persona of, like being that trader and knowing what that trader entails, trading became a lot easier. And now that's why I'm able to even be on these calls and tell y'all, like, you don't gotta take a whole bunch of trades every single day. You don't have to. You do, like, you don't have to do a whole bunch of, trading just to make a lot of money. Like, you take the setups that's clear to you, and then that's that. And then it's wash, rinse, and repeat every single day. But it's a mindset shift. Like, I use the example of my students of like a bus. Like, you don't chase the market. You don't, like, you understand that there will always be another bus, meaning that there will always be another setup. And if you understand that concept, then like, there's no reason for me to chase. If this one isn't giving me what I want, then I'll wait on the next bus. That's like, think about it, chasing a bus down the street. Like, how silly you'll look if you chase the bus down the street and it was already 2 blocks ahead of you, and you trying to catch up 2 blocks to the bus. It's like, it's probably gonna leave without you. So why don't you just stand at the station and wait on the next bus, because the next bus is going to come in the next 15 minutes, right? So with that being said, actually I'm gonna put this Telegram chat inside of the YouTube thing here, so y'all can have it and click it directly, because we about to hop off, and y'all can just click this link. So this is the link to the free Telegram chat. Like I said, if y'all want to join and y'all want to be a part of everything that I talk about on a weekly basis, where I pretty much just explain, everything about the charts, like even we talked about gold, I get a markup, so what I'm looking for, even break down some of the trades that I take on my actual accounts. If you want to be inside the Telegram chat, just make sure you join with the link in the chat that I just put, or you can join with the link in the description. But yeah, so with that being said, chat, let's make sure that we run these charts this weekend, right? So y'all know we chart runners. You already know. I talk about this the week in and week out, do the same things over and over and over again. So ultimately, it's just wash, rinse, and repeat. So that being said, y'all enjoy the rest of y'all week. Look for updates inside the Telegram chat, and then if y'all got any questions about anything, hit me up inside of the Telegram chat, and we'll go from there. So enjoy the rest of y'all week. Take care.